On the quiet street with the sugar maple trees and the perfume lilacs, the Carter house looked like happiness. The porch swing creaked on summer nights, the lawn was fussy and square, and the windows soaked up sunlight like they had been painted with honey. Neighbors waved at Elena, sometimes at Daniel too, though he was often a shadow behind the glass, a late figure crossing the lit room. On a Tuesday in early spring, Elena stood in the kitchen wearing the apron with a strip of faded lemons along the hem. She was not an apron person. The apron was an apology to herself for caring so much. The timer on the oven ticked, and the radio murmured about weather and baseball scores. She checked her phone for the third time in 5 minutes, running late again. Big deck for the Finley account. Don't wait up if you're tired. Gee, she wrote back, be safe. Dinner's in the oven. Then she set the phone down like it weighed something and stared out the window. Across the yard, a child left hopscotch squares chalked in pastel, softening with dew. Happiness had tiny, ordinary fingerprints. So did loneliness. Daniel came home after 10, soft-footed and cologned with cedar. He kissed Elena's hair and said he was starving. They ate at the counter like students. He talked about the pitch, the stubborn client, the new assistant who could wrangle a Gantt chart like a circus tamer. He grinned a quick flash. The smile she had married, and Elena's chest warmed, then cooled as she heard a name she didn't know yet. Clara, Daniel said. You'd like her. She's sharp. Reminds me of you when you started out. Elena smiled. She forgot for a moment how compliments can be the first flicker of a match. Clara Jennings owned 6 dresses that looked more expensive than they were, a pair of scuffed boots she refused to replace, and 2 versions of herself, the steady one she wore to work, and the one who watched everything with the ache of a person who came late to love and wanted to catch up. At the agency. She learned quickly who answered emails at midnight, who added periods like bullets, who despised commas. Most importantly, she learned Daniel's rhythms. His jokes were quiet and smart. He remembered the names of interns and gave credit sideways, like he was embarrassed by generosity. He wore wedding rings like people wear old songs, habit, comfort, and a little bit of distance. They stayed late 3 nights the first week she joined the Finley account. A 4th night too. Once, after midnight, when the janitor's cart clinked past and the building hummed like a sleeping animal, Daniel leaned back and rubbed his eyes. You should go home, he said. So should you, Clara answered, and he laughed. He was the kind of married man who didn't say things he couldn't unsay. He was also the kind of tired man who didn't notice how close he stood. If someone had photographed them, then 2 banker's boxes between them, a halo of lamplight on the table, the picture would have been labeled productive, harmless, ordinary. But you can't photograph gravity. Elena taught herself to take photographs the year her father died. She needed a way to trap time and tame it. Now the camera lived in a canvas bag near the door, and sometimes she lifted it like an instrument and aimed it at a late afternoon, a bowl of oranges, a split lip of rain in a puddle. She did not photograph Daniel very often anymore. Not because he wasn't beautiful to her, he was, but because when the lens found him, he changed into someone who knew he was being seen. The man she loved best was the one who turned lights off with his elbow because his hands were full of groceries. He could not be coaxed into a still frame. Her best friend, Sophie, begged to be taken. Make me look like I write poetry, Sophie said, laughing on the park bench. She had a dimple that belonged in a romantic comedy and a wicked pathfinder's eye for gossip. She worked in marketing like Daniel, though, at a smaller firm, and kept more secrets than a church. You're already trouble, Elena told her. Shooting with the soft lens, catching wind and hair, the bright animal of Sophie's grin. Your husband's the real trouble, Sophie said, half joking. He's too handsome for suburban safety. Elena rolled her eyes. He's allergic to trouble. Sophie smirked. Everyone's allergic until they aren't. What Elena heard. Don't worry. What Sophie meant. I hope I am wrong. Late one night, the bedroom held its breath. Daniel showered. Water sang against the tiles. Elena picked up his phone to move it from her pillow to the nightstand. The screen woke like an eye. Don't forget your meeting tomorrow. You'll do great like always. Say the initial was so modest it felt intimate. She told herself she wasn't a person who pried. But the hinge of the world creaked and she opened the door. Wish you were coming with me. Do you know I'm there in spirit? Say, the emoji was a perfumed letter from another century. Elena set the phone down like it had burned her and sat in the dark with a new kind of silence. When Daniel came to bed, she said, Is Clara good at her job? He exhaled, easing under the covers. Yeah, best hire we've made in years. Do you talk to her a lot? In the way a person talks to an assistant, yes, Elena. Gentle. Practice patience that felt practiced because it had. Then she watched the ceiling for a long time and imagined the little cartoon kiss. Hovering over their lives like mist no one else could see. It was a Thursday when Elena decided to surprise him with lunch. She bought 2 sandwiches and a tiny lemon tart because he liked pretending he didn't like dessert. Traffic made the world slow and irritable. The building lobby smelled of metal and climate control. When she reached the agency floor, she saw them before they saw her, a man and a young woman at a glass-walled conference room, leaning in too close over a laptop, laughing like they were co-conspirators in a good heist. Clara's hand touched Daniel's wrist and did not flinch away. Elena stopped with the paper bag crinkling in her grip. In movies, the betrayed storm in, shout, slam, throw. Elena did nothing so cinematic. She blinked, watched her husband's mouth shape a story, watched the assistant's smile arrive early, and then she turned and walked back to the elevator, the lunch heavy and absurd in her hands. That night she didn't cry. She folded laundry like it mattered. Daniel came home late and said he was exhausted. He showered. They slept back to back, 2 parentheses around a sentence that would not resolve. Daniel Carter did not wake up one day and choose ruin. He woke up most days and chose usefulness. He made lists. He believed in timeliness the way others believed in prayer. In college, he had been the solid one sober driver, flashlight finder, the man who knew where the extra batteries lived. He never wanted to be tragic. He wanted to be necessary. Then the company grew teeth. Clients demanded miracles threaded through needles. The word burnout became an office joke no one laughed at. When Clara arrived, something in the machinery of the week lightened. She picked up tasks mid-air and slotted them into place. She praised him too easily and kept small candies in her top drawer. She reminded him, with embarrassing accuracy, of the version of himself he had misplaced when adult life segmented into tabs. It felt like a relief to entertain the flattery of being seen. He didn't intend to cross any lines. He intended to lean on steady help. Then he started wanting to talk to her about more than deadlines. Then he told himself it was harmless to confess he felt tired, invisible, old. Then he told himself he was being honest in a way marriages cannot be when they are careful. He did not sleep with Clara, not then. But the affair started anyway the first time he looked at his wife and wished she could be the person at work who made him feel new. When the universe is cruel, it schedules the confession on a beautiful day. The cafe windows were clear as mouth-blown glass. Light pulled on tables like cream. Sophie's hands shook. She stirred her latte like she was trying to dissolve a secret. "Elena, I need to say something," she said. And Elena knew in that instant that a door she did not want to open had already swung wide. "It's about Daniel." Sophie went on. "It was years ago. It was a party, and we were stupid and drunk, and it lasted a night and 3 weeks of texting. He ended it. I swore I'd never tell you, but I can't watch you hurt now about this new girl without telling you I hurt you first." The cafe emptied around them. Elena stared at the reflection of the two of them in the window. A woman learning a truth. A woman setting herself on fire to offer light. She wanted to slap her, to laugh, to curl on the floor. She did none of these. Instead, she asked in a voice she didn't recognize, "Why?" Sophie wiped at her dimple, where tears sat stupidly like punctuation. "Because I wanted to be loved by someone you loved. Because I was selfish. Because he looked at me like a promise." "Pick one." Elena stood without finishing her coffee. "I can't fix what you did to me," she said. And the bell over the door rang like a judge's gavel as she left. Asterisk, she did not throw the wedding ring. She placed it on the maple table in the living room because placing it down felt like writing a sentence instead of screaming one. Daniel came home to find the ring, glinting like an unblinking eye. "What is this?" he said, already defensive, already afraid. "Asked Sophie." Elena answered. The name entered the room like a cold draft. Daniel swore under his breath one word, old and ugly. "How long have you known?" "About Clara?" "Long enough to make me feel foolish in my own skin." "About Sophie?" "Since 2 hours ago." I'm not sure in which order to be humiliated. He sat. He was good at apologies you could frame. "It didn't mean anything," he began. "Which part?" Elena asked, because when rage finally arrived, it was articulate. "The woman who texts you at midnight with kisses, or the one who used to be my sister?" "She's not your sister," he snapped, and then closed his eyes as if he could shut the sentence back inside. "No," Elena said. "She's the woman who borrowed my husband and forgot to return him." They slept in separate rooms that night. In the morning, the house smelled like old arguments and the lemon dish soap Elena had always liked. Clara did not ring the bell so much as she pressed it like a wish. Elena opened the door and looked at the young woman from the office, the careful blouse, the soft lipstick, the nervous way she held her shoulders like she expected the wind to argue with her. "I shouldn't have come," Clara said. "But I can't be quiet. I didn't know he was married at first. He said you were separated. When I learned you were, She swallowed, straightened. "I ended it." "You ended what?" Elena asked, and it was almost kind. "The idea of us," Clara said. She held out an envelope. "He wrote you this. He's at a hotel. He wants to explain, but he thought he should try to not make it worse. Elena took the letter. She did not invite Clara in. She watched the young woman walk down the path and thought, here is a person who didn't invent the map, but who followed it and got lost anyway. Upstairs, Elena opened the letter. Daniel's handwriting had the decency of a good student. If you're reading this, I have become the man I promised never to be. It went on confession after confession, not of specific betrayals, but of vacated presence, of wanting to be applauded for the ordinary work of being a husband, of feeling old and invisible and needy in ways he had not said out loud. He didn't ask forgiveness. He asked to be believed about the parts that sounded like excuses because they were. Elena held the paper until the ink felt warm. Then she folded it once, twice, and set it beside the ring. Two artifacts from a different archaeology of love. Daniel packed in the hush of night. He chose the gray sweater Elena liked and then left it folded on the chair because liking and deserving are rarely the same. He rented a week at a hotel that practiced anonymous kindness. He jogged in short loops around a park and tried to tire out the grief like a dog. He started therapy because the receptionist said, "We can see you Thursday," and he had run out of reasons to say no. Clara, for her part, requested a transfer. The agency obliged. The Finley account swallowed her replacement without remark. In bathrooms and kitchens, Whispers tried to assemble a complete picture from incomplete pieces. They never do. Sophie called 3 times and texted 8. Elena didn't answer. When Sophie arrived on the porch with tulips and guilt, Elena let her stand there and understand that flowers are poor currency in the economy of betrayal, rearrange themselves around the absence. Elena took a part-time job at the library to have something to do with her hands and her soft voice. She liked the hush that came prepackaged with purpose. She liked shelving books people would use to escape into other lives. On a Tuesday, a boy lost his mother between biographies and gardening, and Elena found them again by listening hard. You could build a new person out of the materials of ordinary usefulness. Daniel sat on the leather couch, the color of weather, and told Dr. Sokolov that he did not want to be a villain. People who end up here often say some version of that, the therapist replied, removing his glasses so that the word human could sit politely between them. "Tell me what you do want." "I want to feel like I'm not replaceable," Daniel said. "At work, anyone could pick up my slides and give my pitch. At home, Elena's so capable she doesn't need me. Clara made me feel..." He stopped, embarrassed. "Selected?" Sokolov offered. "Seen," Daniel admitted. "And where were you?" Sokolov asked, and the question lodged under Daniel's ribs and lived there, buzzing. The doctor did not mean geographically. He meant the version of you who could be seen by your wife. Where had he gone? If therapy worked, it was because it asked the same question until the answer in the library's back room, where the staff kept a coffee pot that had outlived 3 directors. Elena drank tea and learned the Almanac of Quiet People. The woman who came every Saturday to read the local newspaper from 20 years ago and circle names as if doing a scavenger hunt for grief. The retired engineer who believed laughter is a kind of solvent and told jokes without punchlines. The teenage girl who hid in the poetry aisle and collected breakable sentences. One afternoon, an old man returned a book he had soaked in bath water. He apologized with a blush. His bathtub had insisted on mercy he hadn't meant to give. Elena told him not to worry. Paper forgives more than we expect, and she meant it. Soft peace grew in the small muscles under her eyes. The weeks turned into something that did not hurt at the edges. She took photographs again, an abandoned glove on a swing, a church reflected upside down in a puddle. Recovery has poor posture at first, then it learns how to stand. They arranged it by text. A park bench that used to be theirs when theirs meant picnic baskets and maps to other versions of the same afternoon. Daniel arrived first and sat in the shade like he was afraid to be seen in bright light. Elena walked up the gravel path with a new stillness around her. Her hair was pulled back the way she did when she wanted to feel her neck exposed to air. For a minute, they talked about the weather like people who wanted to pause time, not rewind it. I've been in therapy, Daniel said finally. I'm learning how to be a person I'm not ashamed, introduced to the person I married. Good, Elena said. It was not forgiveness, but it wasn't nothing. I want to say I didn't love her, he tried. I want to say it was a burnout, a phase, don't rehearse your defense, Elena said gently. I didn't come to be the jury. What did you come for? His voice went small, to confirm that you understand the size of what you broke, she said, and to tell you I'm not going to spend the next 10 years worshiping at the altar of our failure. We were good for a long time. Then we were not. Both are true. He nodded, and his face did a thing like relief and mourning at the same time. I won't ask for another chance, he said. But I hope the version of me who can be trusted again exists somewhere in the future, even if he doesn't live in the same house as you. She stood to go. You're right about one thing, she said. Nobody saw it coming. Not even you. That's the problem. He watched her walk away under a spread of leaves the color of copper, thought about all the ordinary kindnesses he had taken like water, and felt thirsty for the first time in months. Sophie moved apartments. She changed her hair. She adopted a cat that hated everyone but fell asleep on her collarbone like a second heartbeat. She texted apologies with different ribbon, but the read receipts stayed gray. Sometimes she opened her camera roll and found Elena in the bluest light of a summer afternoon and could not breathe. There is no moral need enough to stitch Sophie closed. She wanted, she took, she regretted. She learned, and it was late. That is also a human story. Asterisk, asterisk.